Good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. You're tuning in to the first edition of a new video series that we're going to call Tournament Talk, presented by Hamilton Bait and Tackle. Purpose of these videos, I'm going to kind of go over a recent tournament, talk about conditions, talk about the techniques that I use during the tournament, talk about some of the equipment used. And the purpose of this isn't to give you the top secret stuff, the juice, if you will. My reason for doing this is to just maybe next time you get out on the lake and you run into similar conditions, maybe it'll help you put a fish or two in the boat that otherwise you wouldn't have run into. So for this first edition, we are going to talk about Kentucky Lake. You normally don't fish Kentucky Lake in the springtime, but one of my travel buddies decided that we had cabin fever to the point where we needed to fish something. So he asked me if I wanted to jump in the BFL on Kentucky Lake. So that's what we did. We drove down to Kentucky Lake to fish the LBL division. First tournament of the year in that division. There was 162 boats. We got down there on Thursday night. There was some pretty bad storms that rolled in, so we didn't go out on Thursday. Friday, conditions on the lake, the water level was about 5 feet low. Still, they were pulling 130,000 cubic feet per second of water out of the dams. So all 7 of the turbines were open. So the current was pretty heavy. Water temperature was 48 to 49, really depending on where you went. Kentucky Lake or Barkley, it hovered right around that high 40s, low 50s. Weather, I think it was 60s during the day, mid 30s at night. So Friday kicked off, launched out of Kentucky Dam, went across the lake, started hitting some spots. First spot, I caught 2 shorts, and the third fish I caught was a nice solid keeper. Moved to a second spot, very similar to the first spot, same kind of structure. And on the third cast, I caught a really nice smallmouth. I want to say he was about 18 and a half, 19 inches. Like he was a fat, healthy smallmouth. And I was throwing a crankbait, and what that bite told me was that I had the right bait and I had the right color. Typically, when you catch a fish, a lot of times that fish is on the back treble hook, and these fish weren't hooked that way. They had the treble hook sideways, or the bait sideways in their mouth, all 6 treble hooks buried. Like when they were eating this bait, they were choking it. So I knew I had the right locations and the right bait. I just need to find more of those type of areas. So fished kind of the rest of the day, had a little mishap and got stuck on a sandbar. And thanks to my buddy Manny and Towboats USA, we lost about 3.5 hours of fishing time. It was my bad. I didn't adjust for the 5 feet low water, so I was running an old trail that I had, and there just wasn't enough water on there. But anyway, woke up Saturday morning, 48 degrees. Wind was blowing 20 plus miles an hour. It was ripping straight down the lake, north to south. If you've ever been on Kentucky Lake, north to south wind or south to north wind is not good. 4-footers coming out of Moore's launch. That lake was rough. Made the decision not to run south due to the waves, because the further south we got, the worse the waves were going to get. So I ran to the north end of the lake. My plan was to throw moving baits, specifically a crankbait, on rocks. Tried an A-rig, didn't get bit on an A-rig. Tried a chatterbait. I was throwing a crankbait. I won't necessarily tell you the exact color because I got another tournament coming up there in a couple weeks. So my guess is that bite's only going to get stronger. But I was using a typical springtime color, crawdad color crankbait, and I was fishing rocks. Pretty solid day. It wasn't fast and furious, but I caught keepers throughout the day. I think I ended up catching 7 keepers, 5 shorts for 12 fish overall. finished 11th place out of 162 boats. Had 17 pounds, 2 ounces. My co-angler had 3 fish for almost 9 pounds, and he also got a check on the co-angler side. So that's kind of it. It wasn't real, exciting as far as switching baits, and I could catch them on a bunch of different baits in a bunch of different areas. What I found is they wanted this crankbait, and they wanted it on a certain type of structure and a certain depth, and I just stuck with it all day. Talked several times with my co-angler about maybe moving to another area, and we agreed that we would make pass through these couple spots. If we made a pass through that we didn't catch a keeper, then we would move. But every time we made the rotation, we would at least catch one keeper. So we stayed in that general area all day. And like I said, I ended up with 17 pounds, 2 ounces, 11th place. The field was stacked, a lot of local guys. A couple of the guys had career earnings of over $1.5 million. So I was really pleased with an 11th place finish on a lake that I don't typically fish in the springtime. So I'm really looking forward to the second tournament down there, which I believe is the first week in April. So some of the key equipment that I think played a major role in the good finish that I had. I mean, first and foremost, I'm sitting in my new 521R Ranger. It's got a 250 Mercury 2-stroke on the back, and let me tell you, I needed this boat on Saturday. In the weigh-in line, I talked to a guy that said the waves down in the south end near New Johnsonville were close to 7-footers. And I can tell you, running from Moores North to the dam area, I was in 4-footers, and this boat handled like a dream. That Mercury 2-stroke is one of the strongest motors I've run, and I've had 7 boats now. I don't think I'll ever go back to anything else. I think it'll be Mercury 2-stroke for me. Another thing that I added this year that I did not have last year is I had a company put all my electronics on one battery. So the only thing I have off my cranking battery is my big motor. All 4 of my Lowrance 12 HDSs, my live wells, my bilge pumps, and everything are running off a MillerTech 31 series AGM battery. It's been a game changer for me. My electronics never dipped below 12.4 volts. I believe, in my opinion, my LiveScope is a more clear picture, and it's just peace of mind. I've got battery power all day, and I don't have to worry about low voltage alarms going off throughout the day. So that MillerTech 31 series AGM battery has been a game changer for me. As far as tackle and rod and reel, I was using a Daiwa Tatula reel, which is, in my opinion, it's the best reel on the market today. Castability, drag system, just all around one of the best reels. That's probably, I have 15 of them. I will give you one little tidbit. Typically in the springtime or even in the summertime, people think that you should stay around 5.1 to 6.1 gear ratio. A little trick here, and my co-angler, I had him down 5 fish to none before he realized I said something and he caught on to it. He was using a 5.1 gear ratio reel and he wasn't getting bit. I was using a 7.3 gear ratio. I wasn't burning the crankbait, but I was pulling it back at a pretty good pace, and I was getting bit. Like I said, I had him down 5-0, but actually 7-0 fish-wise, before he said, wait a minute, you're using a 7.3, I'm using a 5.1. So he started burning his 5.1, and he caught 3 fish within 15 minutes. So zero doubt, the gear ratio on this particular tournament was just as important as the color of the crankbait I was using. I will tell you something that I do in almost every one of the baits I buy, and I did it on this tournament, is I change out the treble hooks. Typically the stock treble hooks that come on a crankbait you buy off the shelf are garbage. I would not risk money on treble hooks that just aren't good. So I change out all of my crankbait hooks to the Hayabusa treble hooks. And if you don't believe me, like I have, of course I dropped some O-rings on the ground, but I have an entire box of Hayabusa treble hooks, and I won't use anything else. I did not lose a fish Saturday. I fished as clean as I could. So the weight I weighed is the most weight I could weigh. But I did not lose a fish, and those, like I said, those Hayabusa treble hooks were sideways in every fish's mouth. Like they weren't coming off. I probably could have dragged them back to the boat ramp, but I wouldn't have lost them. They were choking that bait, and that Hayabusa hook really, really held them. I threw one line all day long, which I typically do unless I'm changing to a top water or something like that. And that is my P-Line Tactical 12-pound test line. It's my staple. It's on 80% of my rods. I didn't lose that fish in the year 2023 by a line failure. I did not break a fish off. I did not lose it because it broke for some reason. I have the utmost confidence in P-Line Tactical Fluorocarbon and the 12-pound test line, and I use it almost every tournament. Without a doubt, goes without saying, my power poles are invaluable, especially in the wind. In this particular tournament, I launched my boat by myself, and it would be nearly impossible to hold that boat in the wind and the waves without me dropping my power poles. So I'll never own another boat that doesn't have power poles on it. These things were invaluable for the tournament. We were changing in between cloudy and sunny, but when it came out, the wind would die down and the sun was crazy. And I have about 5 pairs of amphibious sunglasses, different lenses for different sunlight and different water depths and things like that. But I never go out of the house fishing, not fishing, it doesn't matter, without my amphibious sunglasses. In my opinion, they're the best sunglasses out there, especially for the money. And I don't know how many of you have done like I have, whether I was down at Hilton Head in the ocean or fishing and I lean over and these things go in the water. Amphibia eyewear floats. So they're usually sitting right there on my head no matter where I'm at until I put them on my head or put them on my eyes. New this year, I've teamed up with Line Cutters, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's a little tool like this that can get in and snip that line. These things save you a bunch of time. They're an amazing product. But one of the partners with Line Cutters is Striker. And Striker is the maker of some of the best rain gear out there. And let me tell you, I didn't need my rain suit Saturday because it was raining. I need it because of the waves and the wind. And that Striker rain suit, actually, I believe one of the owners of Line Cutters reached out to him in January, sometime around January, and talking rain suits. And he's like, dude, you got to get you one of those Striker rain suits. So I got one, and man, it's the real deal. So if you're in the market for a rain suit, definitely check out the Striker rain suits. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the first tournament of the year. I was really excited to get out there, and I'm really stoked with the great finish. It gives me a lot of momentum going into the second tournament. My buddy Daniel and I are heading down to Gunnersville, Alabama. I believe it's the 13th maybe of March, and we're going to enter into a pretty big tournament down there. They got some really neat prize money. It's a pretty decent purse for first place, but they're doing some some innovative stuff. Like if you finish in a place that ends with a 0, for instance, 10th place, 20th place, 30th place, you get $1,000 no matter what place you're in, as long as it ends in a 0. If the place ends in a 5, 15th, 25th, 35th, you get $500. The team that finishes in 100th place gets $5,000. So I think it'd be kind of hard just to try to finish 100th, but if you're lucky enough to do that, you're gonna get 5,000. Then they also have a separate side pot for first responders. Obviously, you know what I do for a living, and my buddy Daniel also is in the first responder arena. So hopefully we finish as the highest finisher in first responders and get a little more money. But I will certainly do a tournament recap of Gunnersville when we get back. But you guys have just endured the first edition of Tournament Talk, sponsored by Hamilton Bait and Tackle. If you're in the market for rods, reels, terminal tackle, crankbaits, you name it, Hamilton Bait and Tackle has it. So if you would, instead of going to one of those big box stores, I think you'd be amazed at the customer service, the family type atmosphere, and the inventory that Hamilton Bait and Tackle has. So check them out online at hamiltonbait.com. Until next time, good fishing.